What's up guys, iRacing here, and today I'm going to show you one of my races in F1 where we had such a strong field ahead. Up we start, and just from the start we lose some positions. Very hard to get the start right with F1. We had to concede another position here. We went 3 wide into turn 1, and it's best to play it safe. And now we're just the only ones on soft tires ahead, so this will give us a big advantage into the starting laps. The softs on this track are very strong. This is a one stop mandatory, so we have 25 laps, but we must do a mandatory pit stop. So the guys in front started on mediums and they will go on soft later, but we decided to start on softs because the guys ahead are much faster, and we see now that he just locked up, but we couldn't capitalize on his mistake. So the guys in front of us are really strong, and I thought that it's best to start on a faster tire to keep up with them and maybe pull some gaps and stay safe. And then after the pit stop, I thought that it will be better to try to defend from them if we're ahead, instead of pushing to get them in the second phase. So up we go to the finish of the first lap. Everything went alright for us. So in this part, you just want actually to warm up the tires. You don't want to push so much. We can see that the guy behind is slowly catching with the slipstream, and now we have a big crash which give us 2 positions. And yeah, that's why you have to be patient in the first laps. So one of the guys outbroke himself, so yeah, it's tricky with the W13. It's not like W12 where you can straight push after lap 1. Here you just need to play it a bit safe. So we have 1 second gap to the guy in front of us. We're just trying to close that gap. And after a few laps, we're right behind him. The gap behind is 4 seconds, so we're just looking ahead now. And as you can see here, he seems like he's struggling, and I think he's on soft tires. We can see some red stripes around his tires. So yeah, the tires are starting to drop, but if you manage them, and if you manage them a bit and avoid lockups, avoid unnecessary steering input, it should be alright. Like the wear for just 5 laps, it shouldn't be that bad, but it depends on the driving style. Now into the chicane. So the field is very close, tied up together, so there are still a lot of opportunities. And you can see now with the DRS and the slipstream were much quickly than he and the other guy, so it actually did a double overtake into the turn 1. So right now we're up into P4 or P5, I believe. We'll see at the end of this lap when it will get updated. And just in front of us we have Scott Tuffey. If you don't know Scott, you just have to Google it or search him on YouTube. He does F1 and VR racing, and yeah, big shout out to him. So I knew he were faster than I was, but he was on medium tires here, and he started on P2, but something happened to him, so I knew he had the pace to go in this field and make some positions. So at this point the plan was just to follow him through, and whenever he does an overtake, I want to be close enough to him so I can benefit from that overtake. Maybe the other guy will go and will take a slower line. If I'm close enough, I might be able to overtake that person as well. So here we're just following Scott. We have the DRS, we have the slipstream, The slipstream works best when you're like 0.5 seconds behind. Then the gain starts to become well above what you usually get from 0.6 and up from that. But now we see that Scott wasn't close enough to overtake Philip, and on this section, on the S's, we are so strong with the soft tires, and also here before the bridge you can see that in this corner we're closing the gap every time, every lap. Now into the hairpin, we have to avoid locking up the front left tire. The front left tire is the tire that is getting the beating on this track, especially because this hairpin corner, where it's very easy to lock up that tire, because you want to carry as much speed as you can so you can have a good launch, because this was a big straight and now it's a bigger one ahead. So you want to prioritize both entry and exit on those corners, and yeah, the tires will have to suffer for that. It is what it is. But now let's see, Scott seems to be even closer than last lap, but he loses a bit on the exit, so let's see if he can do the overtake here. Unfortunately, I can't get rid of the halo, to have transparent halo. So yeah, that's that, and he does the overtake, he completes it. And now we want to stay close again, so we can do the same. Right now on this tire, I think we're like doing race pace. So at this point in the race we are very strong. The others of course are on medium tires, and it explains why they're a bit slower than us, but still we want to make the most out of this decision to start on softs. And as you can see here, it's having, everyone has trouble into this hairpin, so we just try to avoid locking up. That was the only thing that I was thinking, because I didn't know what to do with the pit window. So we have 25 laps and the softs are way faster than the medium tires, and my idea was to stay on these softs as much as I could and then go on mediums and try to hold off the guys behind, because I was expecting after my pit stop to get in front of these guys. So right now, after the last chicane, we have the ERS, we have the DRS, we also have the slipstream, and it's a very easy overtake. We actually get back to the racing line again, and we can see that Scott has got himself into P3, and we want to get to him. So we need to overtake Paul as soon as possible. But as you can see here, if you can look to the gap to Scott or even to the guy in front of him, you can see that we're gaining to them, especially in this tricky part of the track where the softs have the biggest advantage. So the guys in front has a lockup. This will cost him time for sure on these medium tires, but also fair play to him because he's keeping this pace with the medium tires. So that's that. He goes a bit wide here. We just want to stay into the track and don't have additional off tracks. Here we can try to do the overtake, but we have a slight lift because it's much safer to do it on the straight line with DRS. So we just want to let him have this, focus on the exit before the straight. We want to have a good exit, and we have a good exit, and now it's just about staying in his slipstream, pulling on the right and getting back on the racing line. And now we just want to try to close the gap to Scott. So he's 1.1 seconds ahead, and after a while of chasing him, our tires drop off massively. So in lap 13 he goes into the pits, and we decide to stay one more lap on these softs, and we had the craziest lap we could have imagined. The lap was very good, everything went well, it was an excellent lap, and the plan was to go into the pits at the end of the lap and see where we will what position we'll be in. So right now we're heading into the pits. We were in net P3 before going to the pits, so we're gonna change those used soft tires with brand new mediums. We got to the pit, changed to mediums. It was a very quick pit stop. And let's see now on the top right side, top left side on the delta. So we're now P3. Scott is 2.5 seconds behind us, so the overcut worked, but we are on cold mediums, and he has brand new softs that are up to temperature. So as you can see, it's already 1.5 seconds and we didn't even got to the end of the first sector. So the pace difference is huge. We have a quick lockup into the hairpin. Tires are still cold, and right now Scott is right in our rear. So it's obvious that it will be extremely hard to defend against him because our tires are not warmed up. If this was one lap ahead, it would have been way easier to defend from him, but right now the traction is just right there. You can see him behind, he's just almost pushing me, but he kept the distance, and he will try it again on the long straight. So we try to defend here. We take the inside, but it's coming so fast from behind. We still want to keep that inside line covered. He's on the outside, we're on the inside, but he completes the move on the outside, which just shows how much grip he had to do that. It's not very easy to do this kind of overtake into turn 1 of Suzuka, especially because he was not so close to me before the straight, but yeah, you can see that he's flying right now, and now we have another issue on our backs, and that is Philip. We overtook him quite easily in the first stint on softs, but now he gained even more when we defended the inside line. So looking back at this, I think it would have been wiser to let Scott Tuffey by into turn 1. Don't lose too much time defending and fighting with him, and use that time to stay away of the DRS zone of Philip, because right now he's in our DRS. But the good thing is that now the tires are properly warmed up, even though we're on mediums, which are not so good on this track from what I've noticed. You see here that he's closing the gap, but he is not close enough to do the move. So we get another lap here. We try to don't do any mistake, but at the same time we don't want to push these tires into the S's, because on the S's it's almost impossible for him to overtake me. There are 3 overtaking spots on this track. One is the hairpin ahead, the second one is on the next straight after the spoon, and the third overtaking opportunity is in turn 1. So I knew that I will have to conserve my tires for those exits. So for example, right here we want to have a good exit. We upshift to 5th gear just to make sure that we have enough traction to go early on throttle. And again, it's a 0.5 gap to Philip. Going into the chicane, again we want a good exit. We try to use the curbs. It's very risky to touch them, but we have to do it because we need a good exit in order to defend from him. So right now it's even closer than last time. We defend the inside. We moved again to the racing line just before the corner, and he was not close enough again. But if you look on the relatives on the top left side, you can see that Paul is closing the gap to us. He's now 2 seconds behind us, and this was concerning for me because I knew that Philip will eventually get close enough to make me take the inside line, which will mean that even if I will manage to defend from him, we will both lose time, and Paul will be there in our tails in no time. So I knew this was a three-way battle between the three of us. Scott was already 5 seconds up the road, so there's no way that either of us would have catch to him. So at this point the fight was for P4. But right now you see that he's much closer. So here I was a bit afraid that he will take the inside line, but he's patient here. I missed a bit the apex, and as a result I don't have a perfect exit, but I think he missed it too because he's 0.6 seconds behind me. Even though he's closing very fast, he won't be close enough for turn 1. So that gave us another lap. Now Paul is 1.7 seconds behind, so he's closing the gap, and we were losing most of the time in this S part of the track, in sector 1 on the S's. You see here that we lose to Paul 2 more tenths, but it is what it is with these tires. I noticed just after doing more races on this track that it's way better to start on mediums and then go on softs, because when the car is lighter due to fuel being burnt, those softs will bring even more performance. So right now this mediums with a light car is not that good. It's way better to have softs in this part of the race when the car gets lighter. But I thought that I need softs in the beginning in order to be competitive with these faster guys in front of me. But I think I would have been just fine on mediums right now. But it is what it is. The choice was already there. So right now he's 0.4, 0.3, 0.2. We defend, but he has so much grip on the outside, and we have no other choice than to concede a position because he was ahead. And you can see now behind us that Paul is just there, 0.4 seconds. So it's almost like a mission impossible right now to get the 4th place, because we can't focus in front with Paul behind us. And also lap after lap I was feeling that these tires are so bad. Like, if I could use double softs, that would have been like incredible. But since it's a mandatory pit stop, and with my setup and everything that I had, these mediums were not working like I would have expected. So I would have expected that in the later stages of the race, when there is the crossover part between the softs and the mediums, that I would be competitive on these mediums as well, but it's already lap 20 and the softs are still way superior to these mediums. And I say that because I knew I was driving very well at this part, so my driving was quite good, better than usual, I would say. It's usually the thing that whenever you're in a higher split, whenever you have some stronger drivers around you, you tend to drive better. At least this is from what I've experienced so far. So just because they are driving at a higher pace, it will make me push my limits and drive better as well. So that was a neat thing that I took from the race, that I improved a bit my laps on Suzuka. But yeah, as you can see, Paul was just 0.3 behind us, and what we thought in the first and second sector was to not push like hell and let Paul get relatively close, because it's with the W13 it's not so easy to follow someone, so you can easily do a mistake in dirty air. But right now he's very close. He's gonna wait. We tried to have a good exit here. The exit was decent, but he had a way better exit, so there's no way in hell we can defend from this. So we just take the racing line, and we just want to stay close to him and hope that the crossover from medium to softs will happen before the end of the race, because I knew that the softs are going to drop, because when I was chasing Scott with my softs, in the end I lost pace. In the last 2 laps before the pit stop, I lost a huge amount of performance, so I was just hoping to stay close to him, and in the last 2 laps to be in the DRS zone to him. Another issue was that he was close to the guy in front, so yeah, but unfortunately it wasn't the case for me. So now we're on the last lap, last chicane, so the best we could do was 1.5 seconds behind Paul. So maybe if we have had 3 more laps, I think those softs would have dropped off and the mediums would have taken their place, but this is all wishful thinking. Overall, it was a good race. I'm so glad that I had to race with these guys, and see you on the next one.